Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Meaner than evil. One of Kevin Costner's best quotes, as John Dutton makes Case's freedom in Yellowstone's ending better. Kevin Costner's Yellowstone patriarch, John Dutton, has more memorable quotes than any other character in Taylor Sheridan's flagship show. But one line in particular retroactively enhances the show's controversial ending. The neo-Western drama has spawned a number of in-development spin-offs and hit prequel series, underscoring how influential the show was in revitalizing the Western genre. While its sprawling vistas and cowboy action provide a measure of escapist pleasure for modern audiences, the Dutton family at Yellowstone Center operates in shades of gray, elevating the show's emotional and dramatic impact. No character embodies the anti-hero archetype more than Costner's elder Dutton, who works the entire series to preserve his ranch and his family's long-standing way of life. He's willing to use questionable methods to execute his will, but he does still have a moral center that keeps him closer to the straight and narrow than to evil. Of his many memorable one-liners, one stands out that speaks to his family's anti-heroic nature. And while it came 2 seasons earlier, it retroactively makes the show's ending more meaningful. Season 3 of Yellowstone ended with the 3 key Duttons all coming under attack at the same time. And while all 3 survived, it was a grim reminder of the evil in the world that sought to tear their ranch and family apart. One episode earlier, John delivered what proved to be a prophetic line to his son Case, as they discussed the horrible business of keeping their land out of the hands of those who would corrupt and destroy it. The title of Episode 9 is Meaner Than Evil, and it's pulled directly out of John's words to Case. With Yellowstone fans now aware of the family's history, thanks to 1883 and 1923, it's clear that it's a creed that has driven every Dutton that has lived in Paradise Valley since James Dutton settled there. They understand that the world is a desperate, ruthless place, and the only way to survive is to be willing to fight and scrap with the same ruthlessness. As John believes, you may need to do things that might eat at a good person's conscience, and make that personal sacrifice every day to protect yourself, your way of life, and your family. Fortunately for Case, he found a way to move forward with both his family and his soul intact, and in the process managed to ensure that his family's legacy would be preserved in the purest state possible. In lieu of continuing his father's bitter and bloody battle against the legion forces of greed and hunger that desired the Yellowstone Ranch, Case sold the ranch, for virtually nothing, to Thomas Rainwater and the Broken Rock tribe, with the explicit condition that it be preserved in its natural state, even if that meant tearing down everything the Duttons had built there. While the Yellowstone series finale was of course forced earlier than it was ever intended, it still managed to at least wrap up the fate of the Dutton Ranch in a satisfying manner. Just as was prophesied at the end of 1883, the land that the Dutton Ranch sat on returned to its original owners, the Black Rock tribe, themselves descendants of the Crow people that originally hunted the valley. Case managed to find a way to win without having to be meaner than evil, reconciling his own violent nature with his desire to be a good man. In a series built on grit, honor, and the brutal preservation of legacy, few lines stand out the way Meaner Than Evil does. Delivered with steely resolve by Kevin Costner's John Dutton, it cuts through the dust-choked Montana air like a bullet. It's not just a quote, it's a philosophy, a survival strategy. And in the final stretch of Yellowstone, it becomes a defining lens through which Case Dutton's arc, and the series' deeper meaning, comes into sharp, painful focus. From the pilot episode to the series finale, John Dutton has been the immovable force, the rock that generations crash against. His children, especially Case, wrestle constantly with the weight of the Dutton name. And Case, the war-scarred son turned reluctant cowboy, carries the heaviest burden. He's both the inheritor of his father's legacy and the man most desperate to escape it. When John tells someone they need to be meaner than evil, it's not some cowboy bravado. It's a warning. It's advice forged in fire, carved from a life spent fending off enemies who circled the Yellowstone ranch like cultures. It's John acknowledging that survival in this world, his world, doesn't require just strength. It demands darkness. A darkness that can match and surpass the evil knocking at the gate. But what makes this quote so affecting isn't just its gritty delivery or its dramatic weight. It's how it contrasts with Case's journey, and ultimately, how it elevates his choice to walk a different path. By the time we reach Yellowstone's final episodes, Case has fought everyone. His father, his own demons, the government, the reservation, and the endless parade of outsiders trying to seize the land. He's killed, he's bled. He's sacrificed almost everything to protect the ranch, out of loyalty, duty, and love. But what's left of him? That's the question John Dutton never really asks, because for John, the land is the answer to everything. The land is eternal. The people who tend it are just temporary guardians. And if the guardians die doing their job, so be it. You have to be meaner than evil, he says, believing the ranch justifies every sin committed in its name. To John, there is no future for a Dutton unless they're willing to go to war. Again, and again, and again. But Case, by the end, chooses something radical. He chooses peace. He chooses freedom. He walks away from the legacy, from the endless war, and from the idea that the only way to survive is to become something darker than what you're fighting. And in doing so, he doesn't reject his father. He honors him in a way John may never fully understand. Because Case's freedom isn't weakness. It's strength. The kind of strength it takes to break a generational cycle. When Case makes his final choice, to live for his wife Monica and their son Tate, instead of dying for the land, he's not turning his back on the Dutton legacy. He's redefining it. He's proving that survival doesn't have to mean becoming meaner than evil. Sometimes it means choosing love over loyalty, life over land, future over fury. And in that moment, meaner than evil becomes more than just a quote. It becomes the line that Case refuses to cross. It becomes the road not taken. It also reframes John Dutton's entire worldview. Because as stoic and indomitable as John is, there's a tragedy beneath his strength, a deep loneliness born from losing everyone he's ever loved to the very philosophy he preaches. Being meaner than evil may keep you alive, but it leaves you empty. Case, by contrast, is full of scars, yes, but he walks away with a chance at wholeness. His freedom, hard-earned and quiet, stands in direct contrast to John's thunderous legacy. And it's made more powerful because we understand what he's walking away from. We remember the battles, the bodies, the betrayals. We remember the day John sat on horseback, silhouetted against the Montana sunrise, and spoke those unforgettable words, "You have to be meaner than evil." And we remember Case, years later, choosing not to be. Kevin Costner's delivery of that line is one of the finest in his portrayal of John Dutton. It's not just the words, it's the way he says them. Low, gravelly, final. Like a man who's seen too much to hope for anything else. Like someone who has buried too many brothers, too many sons, to believe there's another way. It's heartbreaking because it's so convincing. It's a performance that reminds us why Costner has remained one of America's most iconic actors. He doesn't play John Dutton. He is John Dutton. And yet, in that same breath, Luke Grimes' Case Dutton offers us something just as powerful, a soft rebellion, a quiet revolution, not with bullets, but with a choice, a refusal to be what the world says he has to be.